Hi, this is Chris from Tech Savvy Tutorials. Today I want to talk a little bit about the difference between GPT-4 and an alternative solution from Google called Bard. I have asked Bard directly what the difference is, and let's look at the answer. So Bard is based off an algorithm called LaMDA, while ChatGPT-4 is based off the algorithms GPT-4. Both are large language models. That means they have been trained on a very large data set. There is a couple of differences here. Bard has been trained on mostly dialogue data, while GPT-4 has been trained on a data set based off text and code. The difference is that Bard is most likely a bit better in generating natural sounding dialogues, so classical for chatbots, while GPT-4 is better at generating factual and informative text. You can also see the difference in size. Bard has 137 billion parameters, while GPT-4 was trained on 175 billion parameters. That means that the more parameters you have, the better you are in generating more complex and nuanced text. One difference is also speed. So LaMDA or Bard is a bit more efficient in memory usage, but it's also more efficient in answering. Now, before I'm going to show you the differences between the two algorithms live, I want to show you how to use actually Bard. So Bard is free to use, it's publicly available. And when you try to access Bard, you can go to bard.google.com. All you need is a Google account, you log in. Unfortunately, it's only available for US and UK. So if you open the page, you'll say Bard isn't currently supported in your country. Stay tuned. Luckily, there is something called VPN. I'm not going into full detail what the VPN is, but basically it allows you to open a connection in a server which is not in your country, but in a different country. For that, I use NordVPN. It's a software that you need to pay for. It's superb. I use that for traveling quite a lot. By the way, if you want to use it yourself, there is a link in the description which gives you up to 60% discount, I think. Feel free to use it. It's quite easy. You open NordVPN, you select the country. Now, because Bard is only available in the US or UK, I'll select the United States. You see it's now connected. All I have to do is now just refresh and Bard is available. Now, I'm sure you have used ChatGPT-4 before, so it should be quite similar. You have a prompt, you put in the text you want, and you wait for the answer. So we have learned before that Bard is supposed to be a bit more for chatbots or more natural language answers or live agent type of tasks, while ChatGPT is a bit more versatile. Personally, I think there is one huge difference, and the difference is the data that it has been trained on. Now, if you go to ChatGPT, I have asked GPT what the date is of the data set it has been trained on, and it would basically say that they trained text until September 2021. And it also mentions that everything which comes after 2021, September 2021, basically is not part of the data set. So while it's very good to generate, let's say, text for copywriting and this kind of things, everything which requires a bit more up-to-date data, you can't at the moment ask ChatGPT to answer that. Now there's an update coming which basically enables plugins, which I will cover in the next video to help mitigate some of these restrictions. Bard, on the other hand, is constantly new trained, so it has the capability of Googling for you. So you can do Google search, you can use actual data, and so it's much more up to date. I personally use both ChatGPT and Bard for programming quite a lot. And I think one of the main differences why currently I use more Bard than ChatGPT is because it uses or it gives you answers with more up-to-date information or library versions and these kind of things. So as an example, I work for Amazon, so there's a new feature for Amazon Event Bridge. It's called Scheduler. This feature has been implemented on the 10th of November of 2022, which basically means ChatGPT probably does not know anything about Event Bridge Scheduler. So how about we try it out? I want to create a Python example using Event Bridge Scheduler. Now, it won't just say it doesn't know how to do it. It will create you an example. All right, so it generated the code, and you can see now that it actually uses the events client from Ubuntu 3, which basically uses the event bridge rule capability, which is not what we want. It has similar functionality, but it is not the feature we are looking for. Now, if we copy the same thing into Bard, let's try that. Let's generate the code. And so you can see here it uses the event bridge client, which then creates a scheduler, which is the new capability we want. And this is one of the reasons why I would prefer using Bard for code generation at the moment, since ChatGPT uses quite an old state of code. And quite often when it generates code, it will come up with some very old libraries, which then when you try to run it on newer versions, obviously it wouldn't work. So for coding, for me at the moment, I prefer Bard. Let me know in the comments if you have any thoughts of yourself or experience which one to use. So let's continue with the next example. So another test is to ask ChatGPT or Bard to generate a auto-reply email for an out-of-office message. So I've asked here, write a short auto-reply email for my absence next week. I will have no access to email. And you can see here that ChatGPT comes back with a pretty standard email on auto-reply. Because I don't have access to email, it offers an alternative contact name that you can put into the email. So if I do this with Bard, strangely enough, it thinks that I want to drop an email to a certain person. It has like a weird content saying that I have already completed all of my urgent tasks and have delegated the rest of my work to my colleagues. I'm not sure this is like a very relevant information. I mean, it looks okay, but I think the ChatGPT one would definitely win this race. Now, let's look about if you want to describe a logo for a company. If I ask ChatGPT to create a text prompt for an AI image generator, try to be as descriptive as possible, and the logo should be for a local coffee shop. And it generates like a very long coffee shop which named Stirred Beans. And it looks quite interesting, you know, and the logo has like sprouting from the grinder. Coffee beans erupt in a joyous explosion. It sounds very interesting. I should probably generate that logo. So it does the job quite well, and you can also play with temperature, meaning that it has maybe a bit more ideas how to rewrite it. Now, if I do this in Bard, basically it says, nope, that's not something I can do. So clear winner would be ChatGPT here. Now, another convenient thing is if maybe you want to copy numbers into the algorithms and then do some math. Here, I basically created a small spreadsheet with apartment rooms, the size in square meters and rent, and I left out a rent for the 4-room apartment, and I want basically to have the algorithms find out what is an optimal price I could use. Now, obviously, this is not a lot of data, so you can expect quite random answers here as for the numbers. But if I ask ChatGPT, it would immediately say that for this type of problem, a linear regression would be quite suitable, which I would agree. It comes down with all the math it does, and then basically in the end says, well, 2,300 seems to be a good number for this 4-bedroom apartment. Now I could go ahead and say maybe use interpolation, And then it explains the steps how we would try to interpolate for that little data, and it would come to a price of 3,100. So as expected, I think it does a pretty good job in explaining how to do it, show you the math, and show the results based on this very little data. If I do this with Bard, I text the same, it will come with a 4-bedroom apartment between 2,200 and 2,500. It doesn't really show the math, how it has done it. It's also quite strange that it says the 4-bedroom apartment with 100 square meters, which is priced $2,000 per month. I'm not sure where this number come from. Definitely not from me. So it's kind of guessing and then adding some price on top. 2,300 seems to be similar to what ChatGPT calculated. That's probably a coincidence. But here as well, I think maybe ChatGPT is the better algorithm for this kind of use cases. And last but not least, how about we generate a conversation between a person or a customer whose flight was cancelled and the flight operator. So I've done that in ChatGPT, and you can see that it tries to find out what flight it was, and then it will apologize, offer what next steps could be. In this case, it would be rebooking. The customer wants to rebook, and then the flight operator rebooks the operation. And in general, you can see that the answers are quite long and detailed. Now, if you go to Bard, we do exactly the same. You can immediately see that the answers are quite short and precise. Here you see the customer flight was cancelled. It asks for the information that was missing, confirmation number. It gave some options what to do. The customer wants to rebook, and then it says, okay, I have rebooked for tomorrow 10 a.m. And then that was pretty much it. So it was a very short and precise answering. Now, which one you prefer? I don't know. I like it short and sweet. So maybe Bard would win in this case for me, instead of reading a very large text. Now, let me know what you think. Which one do you think is better for your use case? Personally, I think ChatGPT is by far better than Bard. But again, Bard is quite new. It's in its infancy. I'm pretty sure it's gonna get better over time. I do use Bard now for the programming parts, specifically for the versions. Other than that, I'll probably still prefer to use ChatGPT-4 for now. So thanks for watching, and talk to you the next time.